Welcome back to TYT Sports. The legendary Michael Schur in for, of course, if Michael's on the show, we've got to talk about some hockey.
Well, it's not TYT Sports. It's
What the Puck.
That's right. It's What the Puck. Another, maybe not our last. I think we should do. I think we have a lot to do. First, we're gonna lobby hard for hockey at TYT over the next month because there's a lot to talk about.
Well, in addition to the fact that Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals was yesterday.
Correct.
And my favorite thing about just in general sports recently has been Twitter hot takes.
Right, that's true.
So I really like after 20 minutes of Game 1 of a potential 7-game series, and it's 3-0 Pittsburgh. Well, that was the Stanley Cup Finals. Thanks for tuning in. I hope, but people are serious about that, and they don't realize that. Look, I follow all sports. Blowouts happen in series, all the time,
right?
And
then after one period in hockey, especially in this playoff series where we've seen teams score 3 goals in 5 minutes,
absolutely,
that's not the case. Here's the thing: it was one of the weirdest hockey games I've ever watched. I've seen more hockey. I mean, if I could have all my hockey watching back, well, I probably wouldn't do anything productive with it. I'd probably watch something else, but I would. It would be a lot of time. It was one of the most bizarre games I've seen, if not the most bizarre. Pittsburgh went up 3-0 after Nashville had a goal disallowed from a replay on an offside. Nashville wasn't able to regroup after that. In 4 minutes subsequent to that, there were 3 goals, a little over 4 minutes, maybe a little under 5, depending on how you look at it. But they scored 3 goals. Nashville fell apart for a moment. They went into the room, because Nashville had been dominating that hockey game.
Yes.
They went into the room, they came back. Pittsburgh didn't shoot the puck for 37 minutes. Not one single shot on goal. Unheard of. Pittsburgh has Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. They have all these young guns who all they do is shoot sometimes. Justin Schultz from the point. All of that didn't happen. I think it was... the strangeness came back because Nashville tied the game up.
Yes.
And then Pekka Rinne, whose name, the goaltender for Nashville, name hadn't been said for 37 minutes, he lets in what was not a soft goal. It was a great shot by Jake Gensel, but it wasn't the kind of goal that Pekka Rinne has been letting in. And that was on his 7th shot, 12th shot, something like that.
Well, that's what I found amazing is they finished with 5 goals on 3 shots. It was like when Justin Upton, I think he started off Justin Upton from baseball started off with the Braves. He had 9 home runs and 7 RBIs. It was just remarkable how that was even possible.
Is he the one that changed his name to Melvin?
No, that would be Bossman Jr. Upton became Melvin Upton Jr. again.
Okay.
BJ would be that one. But in case of the hockey here, for 37 minutes to see a team that even I understand has their strongest ability coming from the fact that they have MVP winners. They have players who are accustomed to finding the back of the net in a relatively, what they make look easy fashion. It's not easy. The game moves at a speed that is, like I've always compared to watching The Wire on HBO for some reason, completely out of breath when the game is over. That's why they have 2 breaks, 2 big breaks, and only no timeouts. They just make you go for it. It's like having a heart attack over and over and over. But in this case, high scoring is good. For any sport, it usually turns into more viewers. It turns into more excitement. But in this case, it was a high scoring on shot efficiency, I guess, was one of those things. But a lot of people did say after the game, and also to highlight one other thing, Doc Emmerich might be the best at what he does.
He might be. He's among a handful that are really good.
He might be on a Mount Rushmore of the best that ever was.
He certainly has the best command of verbs.
I like there was a great, actually, HBO... not real time. What is the HBO? HBO Sports with Brian Gumbel, I believe it is, who sat down with an interview with him, and he makes up words, but words that make perfect sense for the game of hockey, like fizzling and something that skittles down the ice, and it makes sense, but only for hockey.
And only for Doc Emmerich, who's now in the Hall of Fame. But there are other great announcers too. Bob Miller here in LA, who just retired. Sam Rosen in New York. That's not just because
he's the Rangers.
Dave Strader with Dallas.
One day maybe Michael Schur.
One day, no. Michael Schur just watches.
Just watches. No. Do you commentate yourself? Did you used to?
When I was little, I used to turn the sound off the game and take a little tape recorder and do a tape recorder. It had a cassette in it. You push play and record at the same time. And,
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
and you had to change the batteries too. They had batteries then. But let's go back to the game.
Yes, please.
A lot of people are saying that, oh my God, Nashville just showed that they're the better team. They outplayed that team left, right, and forward, except for that period when they were reeling, I think, from having that goal disallowed. One thing to remember if you think Nashville is going to win the Stanley Cup because they played so well and they outplayed Pittsburgh, a few things to actually remember. The first of all is Pittsburgh's not going to be that bad again.
Yeah.
So as good as Nashville was, Pittsburgh isn't going to be that bad again. Pittsburgh didn't get their main production. Malkin scored a goal, but then they got goals from Gensel and 2 from Bonino. That one was an empty netter and one was off of I guess it was Ekholm's leg. Those are not the people that Pittsburgh relies upon. The people that they rely upon didn't really produce last night, right? And Rene's also not going to be that bad, but he's coming down to earth. He's not a .950 save percentage guy. He's a career .920. He's not a .640 or whatever he was last night, but that's not going to happen. But what I will say is the way that Nashville relies on their 4 defensemen, those top 4 defensemen on their team, it's very different, and it's hard to play against. And they get a lot of ice time. They're tireless, and that's going to be an important part of this game. James Neal made a stupid mistake by cross-checking Trevor Daley there. Whether Daley embellished it or not, it was a stupid thing to do after a questionable call against them that put them down 5-on-3. That's where things kind of began to fall apart for Nashville. So I think it's going to be a good series. Before this series, now I have the benefit of hindsight, I had Nashville winning it in 5 games because I thought they were.
Wow. Okay, because a lot of people want Nashville to win.
Right.
The series, because they've seen Pittsburgh just raise the cup last year, and
absolutely.
It's a good story.
I mean, it is a good story, and it's Nashville. They've been in the league 18 years. They've never made it past the first round. I no longer think Nashville's going to win in 5 games because I don't think they're going to win 4 straight. I think this is going to be a 6 or 7 game series, and I don't know who's going to win. I don't really have a feel for it after last night's game.
Additionally, because we didn't get to talk about it since the long weekend, a double overtime Game 7.
Yeah.
Between the Ottawa Senators and I know this is all now going back before even the Stanley Cup, but the Senators and the Predators. That was that.
No.
I'm sorry, the Senators and the Penguins.
Yeah.
Your just reaction to watching what
well, I mean, I think you're seeing
a lot of hockey.
You're seeing great defensive hockey, and I think Nashville was able to look at that Senators series. They're going to have great film from that series because because Ottawa, with the exception of a real blowout game where Craig Anderson was pulled, they really played amazing defense against Pittsburgh, and I think because of that, Nashville can see how to do that, how to neutralize some of their players, but. Pittsburgh's healthy now too. I mean, they have Hornquist back. They have a healthy Justin Schultz who was out the end of last series. I think that's all good stuff for Pittsburgh. It's still theirs to lose. As well as Nashville played, I'm reiterating this again. Pittsburgh's not going to play as poorly as they did last night. Nashville really needs Game 2. They need to pick up a win in Pittsburgh in order to sort of set this right again. And if they don't do that, it's going to be very difficult because winning 2 at home, they beat Chicago, they beat St. Louis, they beat good teams. But this is different. This is the Stanley Cup Finals, and the other team knows how to play.
It's a different stage.
Yeah.
It's a different stage.
But Matt Murray looked vulnerable in net too. Mm-hmm. Like I think that enough pressure in front of that net. That Nashville's going to get some bounces too. So and that replay, I don't think they should be able to replay that. Not just because
was that the offside?
The offside one where you can't really tell if he picked up his leg or not. I would have to say that by rules, he did look offsides. It looked like that Forsberg's right foot skate was off the ice. I just think the linesmen are pretty good, and to stop a game for that and change the total momentum of it. I know it's the rule, and I know maybe it's unfair, but for years and years, this is all because of one call that they started doing these things years ago. That they started doing replays. I would keep doing replays in other cases and decrease all of that. This
right,
one,
just not the offside. Yeah, it seems, at least when it comes to football, soccer. To hang out with Francis too much. Eventually, you start saying the European term for it. But in football, it's. They don't use a replay, and it's entirely based, but the difference is the field is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
The linesmen have a pretty good eye, and they're always on the blue line.
It's also as slow. I mean, it's a much slower game by virtue of the fact that people are running in soccer, not taking anything away from soccer. But hockey, everything happens bang, bang.
It's impossible to tell.
It's hard to do it. Linesmen are good, though, and they're imperfect, but that's part of the game. I don't know. I think, anyway, it changed the game yesterday. the rule is right. I'm not saying that the call was bad. I think it was the right call, but it's just unfortunate when a machine changes it that
absolutely.
way, you know.
So the weirdest Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals you've seen?
One of the weirdest hockey games I've ever seen. Certainly Stanley Cup Finals games. And I think the things to look out for is that Pittsburgh has scored, getting scoring now from people they don't usually get it from, and Nashville has to find a way to do the same thing.
Right. So the very common sense way to look at it would be careful when Sidney Crosby and Malkin start to to score.
And now you don't know who's up for the Conn Smythe. First of all, you don't know who's won the series.
That's a playoffs long.
That's a playoffs
which
long,
I've always
right.
liked about. That's one of the things I do like about
yeah.
hockey.
And losers have won it, but not very often.
Not often.
Back-to-back is tough. Crosby won it last year. Maybe it goes, if the Penguins win, to Malkin or something. But I think it's going to. I think the jury's still out. I think it has to happen. I would have given it to Rinne so far throughout the series. All these series, he's just been amazing. But I think that, you know, it remains to be seen. If Pittsburgh keeps getting scoring from other people, then, you know, I think it's anyone's Conn Smythe.
I like you just really wanted to say that.
I don't mind it.
At Michael Schur on Twitter, he's been tweeting out during the Stanley Cup. He had some good takes as well. He's not in the camp of, oh, it's over. There's a lot of hockey to watch.
He's not. Let's go Rangers.
That's always. Let's see you.